Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Josh Snyder here, and today we are going to wrap up coverage from the Planetary Qualifier at your local game store in Mint Hill, North Carolina. The final match, it's going to be the classic Star Wars Unlimited aggro deck, Sabine ECL versus Iden Data Vault. Let's take a look at the decks and then we'll get into the match. First up, we have Tommy Evanko's Sabine ECL deck. At this point, they are all looking very similar, especially since the release of Jump to Lightspeed. But we do have one new Legends of the Force card. It's a cheaper saber, Yoda's lightsaber. So instead of paying 4 for the dark saber, we can pay 2 for Yoda's lightsaber and only lose 1 power. So on the Sabine flip turn, you can have a more explosive turn with Yoda's lightsaber on Sabine for 2, and you could also develop the board further with another 2-cost unit. You could also have a very explosive turn with 7 resources. You could smuggle Cassian in for 5, he readies, and then 2 extra resources, throw the Yoda's lightsaber on Cassian. Now you can deal 6 damage for a total of 7 resources. And then we have the Iden Data Vault deck being run by David Jones. We saw this same deck list in the semifinal feature match. What really stands out here and what will be so important in this particular matchup will be all the cards that can heal damage from David's base. The Vigilance, the Reinforcement Walker, and then the 3 top targets that will certainly come out of the sideboard. All right, Star Wars Unlimited fans, we are set to get the finals started here at your local game store. This Planetary Qualifier in Mint Hill, North Carolina, just outside of Charlotte. We have Sabine ECL versus Iden Data Vault in the finals. Aggro versus hard control. We have Tommy Evanko versus David Jones. Tommy on the left, piloting Sabine ECL. David is on the right. He's piloting Iden Data Vault. We saw David last round in the quarterfinal feature match as he actually took out one of Tommy's teammates, Dom Rivero from Raleigh. Tommy also coming in from Raleigh. Both of those players a part of the Raleigh Raiders. And here, as we get the finals started, it is a classic Green Squadron A-Wing start for Tommy. That Sabine action ability, dealing 1 to each base. And then also the classic start for these hard control decks. David just claiming the initiative, and on turn 2, instantly mitigating that turn 1 play from Tommy, playing Power of the Dark Side, forcing Tommy to defeat the Green Squadron A-Wing. And then we see the Cassian Andor coming out for Tommy. And once again, we have the Sabine action ability. 1 more damage to each base. We are going to see that Sabine action ability a lot here in this match, and it will be crucial to get that extra damage in and just continue chipping away at the 33 HP Data Vault base that David is running. And we get started with turn 3. We've got Cassian Andor on the board for Tommy, and David is going to start with Takedown, defeating a unit with 5 or less remaining HP. Takedown, such a versatile piece of removal, can hit leaders or non-leader units. So Cassian defeated. And now Tommy has free reign here the rest of this turn with David having all of his resources exhausted. We see the Sabine action ability, 1 damage to each base. And then we see David using the Iden action ability to heal that 1 damage from his base. Iden's action ability allows you to heal 1 from your base as long as an enemy unit was defeated this phase. And now Tommy is going to stick multiple threats on the board. K2SO coming down for 4 resources, and Sabine being deployed. Another 3 damage into David's base from Sabine. But now David on turn 4, starting with no glory, only results. He takes control of K2SO, then defeats it. So that means that David actually gets the when defeated trigger here, and he is going to force Tommy to discard a card from his hand. So K2SO, a little bit of a double-edged sword in this matchup if David can find those no glory only results. So Tommy does discard Wing Leader. And then he gets into David's base for 3 with the Sabine leader unit. Sabine stats, just a 2-5, but On attack, you deal 1 damage to each enemy base. And look at this, Tommy following that play up with the 5-cost Poe Dameron. Quick to improvise from Shadows of the Galaxy, one of the best 5-cost units in the game. But David does still have the initiative. And he is going to pay 3 to play Perilous Position. And that is going to attach to Poe Dameron. So Poe Dameron gets -2/-2 and gets exhausted. Sabine does get into David's base for another 3 with the attack. And David is going to deploy Iden, but a big response coming from Tommy. He is going to use the epic action on Energy Conversion Lab, playing Wrecker from hand. Wrecker will get ambushed for the phase. Now Tommy is going to use that when played ability on Wrecker first, defeating one of his resources to deal the damage to Iden, defeating the shield token, and then ambushing and defeating Iden. That is 3 more damage to David's base with the overwhelm on Wrecker. Wrecker stays on the board with a couple HP remaining. Super strong tempo play there for Tommy. He has complete control of the board. And as we move to the next turn, David's still not quite at that threshold of resources that he needs for the board wipe. He is only at 7 resources. Super Laser Blast costs 8. That would wipe the board. Now the next best thing would be Timely Intervention plus the new Darth Vader. We'll see what David has, staring down quite a big board on Tommy's side, and he's got it. He plays the Timely Intervention, playing the new Darth Vader, Twilight of the Apprentice from his hand. Darth Vader will get ambush. Now he'll get the when played ability, give a shield token to an enemy unit, so he can give that shield token to either Wrecker or Poe Dameron, and then attack into the other one with ambush. And then that's when the on-attack ability will trigger, defeating the opposing unit with the shield token. So just like that, one action, David is able to take out Poe Dameron and Wrecker, but it does leave Sabine open. She gets in for another 3. That's 16 damage on David's base. And look at this, Tommy able to really expand his presence on the board, playing 2 space units. He does play the Red 5 as well as Sabine's Masterpiece. Tommy still in control here. He's got 3 units on the board. David does have the immediate answer to Sabine with Darth Vader. But of course now, Super Laser Blast always an option. David has reached the 8 resource marker here. Now, Sabine's Masterpiece, certainly a pretty big threat here, can hit for a total of 4 damage with each attack, having the aggression units in play. And David is not going to mess around with this board and those multiple space units. Super Laser Blast, defeating each unit, a board wipe. We are reset here in the late stages of Game 1. Now, Tommy does follow up pretty well here with K2SO. And a Wing Leader coming out. So Wing Leader is going to give K2SO 2 experience tokens. That is a 6/6 droid in the ground arena. Tommy just has to hope to avoid another copy of No Glory Only Results. We saw David play that No Glory Only Results earlier, targeting K2SO. So here comes Perilous Position, exhausting K2SO. It gets -2/-2. And then Tommy will get in for 2 with the Wing Leader. And here comes Vigilance. Vigilance is going to defeat Wing Leader and heal 5 damage from David's base. He's back down to 13 on. But now Tommy knows he's got a window of opportunity here. David has no more ready resources. He smuggles in Cassian. Cassian readies. David does heal 1 damage from base with Iden's action ability, but here comes another really good play from Tommy. Yoda's lightsaber being put onto Cassian. He gets +3 power and swings for 6 into David's base. And then tack on an extra damage with the Sabine action ability as well. 19 damage on Data Vault, 4 damage on Tommy's Energy Conversion Lab. Wow. What a couple turns. Tommy putting together some explosive plays. David has had some good responses. He had the Super Laser Blast. He had Darth Vader plus timely intervention. But Cassian Andor being smuggled in, and then the 2 extra resources being used for Yoda's lightsaber, a 3 power boost onto Cassian for just 2 resources. Tommy loves the new Yoda lightsaber in this deck, and that is one of the great plays. 7 resources and a total of 6 damage with Cassian and Yoda's lightsaber. David, once again, he is still holding on to the initiative. How does he start here? It is going to be Power of the Dark Side. And it looks like Tommy is going to defeat K2SO, so he will get that when defeated trigger, either dealing 3 damage to David's base or forcing David to discard a card from his hand. And it is going to be 3 damage into David's base. And now David is up to 22 damage total. Tommy has the next action here. And he is going to play another K2SO. Tommy has seen all 3 K2SOs here in game 1. And that is just protecting Cassian from potentially a merciless contest or another Power of the Dark Side. Action back on David. Still has plenty of resources here, and he is going to play Vigilance. But unfortunately, this is not going to defeat either one of Tommy's units. He is going to discard the top 6 cards from Tommy's base and heal 5 damage, but 6 damage coming right back through. Cassian getting in for 6, 23 damage on David's base, and Tommy completely flooding the ground arena here, playing the 2-cost Sabine unit as well. This is a great spot for Tommy. He is showing Fatal on board. He only has to find a way to deal 9 more damage as it stands. And he is showing a total of 14 possible damage with the 3 units in play and the Sabine action ability. Now David with the initiative, playing the first Star Destroyer of the match, plays Avenger here. That will force Tommy with that when played ability on Avenger to defeat one of these 3 ground units. And Tommy is going to defeat K2SO, and with that when defeated trigger, forces David to discard the last card in his hand, and I think this is going to do it. Tommy is showing 9 damage in the ground arena. David could heal 1 with the Iden action ability, but the Sabine action ability would finish it up. 6 damage to base with Cassian, and David is going to scoop it up. Tommy has the early lead here in the finals at your local game store. We are getting set for game 2. Tommy Evanko versus David Jones. Sabine ECL versus Iden Data Vault. Both of these players looking for their first Planetary Qualifier win. David, it is his first time in the top 8 of a Planetary Qualifier. Tommy, this is his second top 8 at a PQ. And now Tommy finds himself just 1 game away from being a PQ champion. Turn 1 of game 2. Sabine action ability early and Battlefield Marine, and David with the 3-cost removal on turn 2. This time it's Merciless Contest. That forces Tommy to defeat Battlefield Marine. And it is a very similar turn 2 for Tommy here in game 2. Sabine action ability and Cassian Andor are the 2 actions taken for Tommy. So moving on to turn 3, David is going to play back-to-back Merciless Contest, and Tommy forced to defeat Cassian Andor here. Sabine action ability used again. David does heal that 1 damage off of his base. Sabine getting in for 3, so very similar start. David up to 5 damage on his base. Tommy has 3 on his base. We are going to see K2SO as well. But this time, David still having that 1 open resource, playing top target onto Sabine. So Now when David is able to defeat Sabine, he can claim that bounty and heal 6 damage from his base because Sabine is a unique unit. So now Tommy, with the initiative, is going to play Fleet Lieutenant for the first time in this finals match. Sabine will attack with 2 additional power because Sabine is a rebel unit. And that is going to be 5 total damage to David's base. So David now up to 10 damage on his base. And still staring down K2SO in the ground arena ready. Tommy doing a nice job at presenting multiple threats. That's what you need to do against these hard control decks. You need multiple threats on the board. Even if they're cheap threats, multiple units is what you are looking for. And look at this. David has that great response to K2SO once again pretty early here in game 2. No glory, only results, taking control and defeating K2SO. That forces Tommy to discard a card. And he does choose to discard K2SO. So he had another copy. We saw Tommy play all 3 K2SO in the first game. 2 K2SO down here in the second game. 1 defeated, 1 discarded. Tommy was able to follow up with the no glory only results play, putting a unit in the space arena, the Green Squadron A-Wing. But as we move on to the next turn, David with the initiative, he is going to play Power of the Dark Side, forcing Tommy to choose one of these 3 units to defeat. It will be the Fleet Lieutenant. And now the action back over to Tommy, attacking into David's base for 3 total damage with Green Squadron A-Wing. The Green Squadron A-Wing a 1-3. But does have raid 2, so when attacking, Green Squadron A-Wing is hitting for 3. David still has 3 ready resources. Iden can still be deployed. He will use that Iden action ability first, healing 1 damage from his base, and then Sabine will get in for 3. So when those 2 actions are completed, David will be left with 15 damage on his base. Tommy has yet to use any resources on this turn. And we are going to see Entrenched come out. David playing Entrenched, putting it onto Green Squadron A-Wing. So that is going to keep the A-Wing from attacking David's base. It does get +3/+3. But at this point will not be posing any threat to David unless Tommy finds some upgrade removal, which is something that Tommy has access to. Poe Dameron, quick to improvise, his own attack ability would allow Tommy to defeat the Entrenched. Tommy also had 2 confiscate in the sideboard that could have come into the main deck. That is another potential option to Entrenched.
Your mustache is good.
But now David,
Sold. If you ask him, he wouldn't tell the difference.
he has the next action here, trying to decide whether or not to deploy Iden.
If you claim and then I pass, you can.
David trying to decide whether to deploy Iden. A little bit of friendly banter between these 2. And from what David was saying, it really depends on what the next 2 cards are that he draws as to whether or not he would want to deploy Iden right now. Again, deploying Iden could set up for an overwhelming barrage play, but it looks like David is just going to claim the initiative, so Iden is not deployed. And we'll see what David has available to him. He is staring down quite a bit of damage in the ground arena. 10 total between Sabine and the Wrecker. Now, we saw him in the first game have the big, explosive, timely intervention into Darth Vader Twilight of the Apprentice play, which can answer 2 units in 1 action. We'll see if he has that once again here in game 2, or if it is a different line. I do believe he is holding on to Overwhelming Barrage, but again, no units on the board right now, so he is going to play a second copy of Entrenched. That is going to currently lock down Wrecker from attacking into David's base. Sabine gets in for 3. That does bring the damage total up to 18 on Data Vault here. And now the action back over to David. He is going to deploy Iden. Now this does give Tommy an option with Wrecker. Wrecker can't attack bases, but he can still attack into Iden. Now at this point, the overwhelm damage, that would not happen here because Iden has the shield token. So if Tommy chooses to attack into Iden with Wrecker at this point, it would just defeat the shield token. Now, if Tommy could get it set up where he defeats the shield token and then attack with Wrecker, that could be quite a bit of overwhelm damage. Wrecker is +3/+3, so he has 10 power. And at this point, Iden only a 4/4. So Tommy has the next action here. And it is going to be a 2-cost unit, Battlefield Marine coming out, loading up the ground arena just a bit more. And now the next action belongs to David. Again, I do believe he has an overwhelming barrage in hand. That's certainly an option. Could have been what he was setting up or trying to set up the whole time. 2 resources for entrenched. He has 5 ready resources available. And here it is. Overwhelming barrage for David. That is going to bring Iden up to a 6/6. And we are going to see 6 damage distributed among Tommy's units. So 5 damage to Sabine, 1 damage to Battlefield Marine. And David is going to heal a total of 7. 6 damage from claiming the bounty on top target, or the bounty from top target that was on Sabine, and 1 damage healed from Iden's ability. Whenever an enemy unit is defeated while Iden is deployed, David gets to heal 1 damage from his base. So a large chunk of damage on David's base removed. We have 11 damage on Data Vault, 3 damage on Energy Conversion Lab. The action back on Tommy.
I think that was about the most obvious place I've ever made in my life, was trying to set that one.
You have to love the friendly banter between these two players. 2 great competitors looking for their first Planetary Qualifier win. Now let's see what Tommy has here. He is going to smuggle Timely Intervention, playing Sabine from his hand. The 2-cost Sabine leader unit coming in, getting ambushing into Iden. The on-attack ability, 1 damage to David's base, and then attacking into Iden just to remove that shield token. So David then immediately healing that 1 damage from base when Sabine is defeated, so that keeps the damage total right at 11. And David is just going to claim the initiative, and now Tommy has the opening with that shield token removed from Iden. Wrecker attacking into Iden and overwhelming for, it should be 4. And that will bring the damage total on David's base up to 15, but it looks as though the players may have forgot about the +2/+2 that Iden had from overwhelming barrage. And David has put 2 additional damage on his base, but we are going to get that fixed, and that is what they're pointing out right now. So 2 extra damage on Wrecker and 2 less damage on David's base. So we have 15 damage on Data Vault, 3 damage on Energy Conversion Lab. David has the initiative. Green Squadron A-Wing and Wrecker right now locked down. They cannot attack because they cannot attack bases.
I should have told him what card it was.
Battlefield Marine, the only unit that Tommy has right now that is posing a threat currently to David. Now here comes David. He is going to smuggle Timely Intervention. And here it is again, Timely Intervention into Darth Vader, Twilight of the Apprentice from Legends of the Force. Getting ambush. The when played ability, a shield token given to Darth Vader and the Wrecker. David ambushing and defeating Battlefield Marine. And Vader just losing the shield token, so no damage back. And the on-attack ability, David able to defeat an enemy unit with a shield token, so Wrecker defeated as well. And just like that, once again, one action, David is able to clean up that ground arena. And now Tommy really having to start all over once again. Now keep in mind, Tommy has yet to use the Energy Conversion Lab's epic action. So that is an option. But it looks like Tommy, for back-to-back turns here, or on back-to-back turns, he is going to smuggle Timely Intervention, and he is going to play Poe Dameron from hand, giving Poe Dameron quick to improvise ambush. Poe ambushes and defeats Darth Vader, and with the on-attack ability, Tommy only had one card left in hand. He discards that card to force David to discard, because David only had one card in hand. So both players going into the regroup phase with no cards in hand, but David found an answer to Poe Dameron. Takedown. Great response. Poe only had 1 HP remaining. Poe Dameron defeated. And Tommy responds by putting another space unit on the board. David using that Iden action ability to heal one. The Sabine action ability, 1 damage to each base. And here comes For a Cause I Believe In. That is the first time we have seen it in this match. 4 damage to David's base. Tommy gets to reveal the top 4 cards. For each heroism card revealed, he deals 1 damage to an enemy base. And then Tommy can discard any of the revealed cards, and he can put the rest back on top in any order. So at this point, Tommy has to decide if he wants to put any of these cards back on top of his deck, or does he want to discard? He is going to discard the Yoda's lightsaber, but he's still showing the 2-cost Luke Skywalker. You Still With Me from Jump to Lightspeed. He has Rebel Assault there as well as K2SO. So the Rebel Assault getting discarded as well. K2SO and Luke Skywalker will stay on top of Tommy's deck, so he will draw those 2 cards here in the regroup phase. But once again, David still has the initiative. Does he have a quick answer to the red 5? That's the only threat right now presenting possible damage on Tommy's side. 20 damage on Data Vault, 5 damage on Energy Conversion Lab, and it is going to be a quick response from David, playing Vanquish, defeating the non-leader unit red 5. And now they will trade the leader action abilities once again. Sabine action ability, 1 damage to each base. David healing the 1 damage dealt to his base with the Iden action ability. And Tommy just playing multiple threats on the board. K2SO and Luke Skywalker. Now David has had no glory only results multiple times in this match. Once in this game, which is a great response to K2SO, because you not only defeat the threat, but you get to use the when defeated trigger. We've seen David do it, forcing Tommy to discard cards both times off of the K2SO when defeated trigger. And this time it is going to be Devastator for David. The 10-10 with Sentinel and Overwhelm in the space arena, dealing 10 total damage to K2SO. So the droid is defeated, and now Tommy has to decide what to do with the when defeated trigger. Does he make David discard a card, or does he put an additional 3 damage on David's base? But now with Devastator in play for David, Tommy is actually on a clock here. 2 swings from Devastator, and David would finish this game. He would force a game 3. So a very tough call. Tommy showing 3 damage on the board with Luke Skywalker. And he is just going to force David to discard that last card in hand. We see Yoda's lightsaber being put onto Luke. And then David heals 1 damage from base with the Iden action ability back down to 19. And now Tommy is going to play Rebel Assault, attacking with Luke Skywalker. That's 7 damage to David's base. And then Green Squadron A-Wing attacking into the Devastator for a total of 7 here. +3/+3 from Entrenched, and then Raid 2. And 1 additional power from Rebel Assault. So 7 damage to the Devastator. Sabine action ability used. This is so tight here in Game 2. The closing stages, 27 damage on David's base, 7 damage on Tommy's base. David has the initiative. He has Devastator in play. But he has to answer the Luke Skywalker. Luke Skywalker with the Yoda's lightsaber would be game over. David is going to smuggle timely intervention. What unit is he playing from hand? And it is going to be Darth Vader. Shield token to both units. Darth Vader ambushing and with the on-attack ability, defeating the shielded Luke Skywalker. But Tommy has a second copy of For a Cause I Believe In. And that is another 4 damage to David's base. With another 4 heroism cards revealed off the top. 2 Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, a copy of Heroic Sacrifice and Sabine's Masterpiece. So with that 4 damage, David's base up to 31. David has just 2 HP remaining. Keep in mind that both of the leader action abilities still able to be used. And if both are, it would still leave David's base with 31 damage on. We see David healing 1 with the Iden action ability. Tommy has no units in play, so we know that he has already played 2 For a Cause I Believe In. I think he is going to need to find that 3rd For a Cause I Believe In to win this game. 2 attacks from the Devastator, and it is over. We see the Sabine action ability, 1 damage to each base. Now David getting in for 10 with Devastator. 18 damage on Tommy's base, 31 on David's base. Does Tommy find For a Cause I Believe In? He needs to deal 2 damage in 1 action. He's got to finish it with his first action, and he does not find it. David Jones is victorious in Game 2, and we will have a Game 3 here in the finals at your local game store. What a match we have had so far here in the finals of this Planetary Qualifier. Tommy Evanko versus David Jones. Sabine versus Iden. Great performance for both of these players today. It all comes down to this Game 3. But it certainly hasn't been without adversity, especially for Tommy, who lost in round 1 of this tournament. 2-0 against Kazuda Data Vault. Thought about dropping from the tournament and going home, stuck it out, did not drop another game through Swiss to get here into the top cut, and now finds himself 1 win away from a Planetary Qualifier championship. We do have a little bit of a different line for both players on turn 1 in Game 3. Tommy starting with the initiative. He plays Battlefield Marine. And David, a turn 1 play for the first time in this match. He plays Dr. Pershing, but Dr. Pershing will not stick around. Tommy with the initiative, playing Fleet Lieutenant. Battlefield Marine attacking for a total of 5 power, getting the 2 additional power from Fleet Lieutenant because Battlefield Marine is a rebel unit. And Dr. Pershing is defeated. Now David does respond with the power of the dark side. Tommy choosing the Fleet Lieutenant to be the unit defeated there. And once again, Tommy with the initiative. He will attack right away with Battlefield Marine. And he will strike first. 3 damage to David's base. And now David using that Iden action ability essentially what we like to call a soft pass. He doesn't get any effect out of that action ability there, but he's trying to buy himself an action, try and wait and see what Tommy does here. But Tommy uses that Sabine action ability, 1 damage on each base, and now David will officially pass. And we see Tommy play K2SO, and David says, I can't wait any longer. He's going to play Takedown, defeating K2SO, but then the when defeated trigger. Tommy deals an additional 3 damage to David's base. David claims, Tommy deploys Sabine, and just like that, 10 damage on David's base. So went from 0 to 10 damage on there on turn 3. David has the initiative. Tommy has the board control. What type of removal does David have here on turn 4? It is no glory, only results, taking control and defeating Battlefield Marine. And then Tommy is going to attack for 3 with Sabine. David up to 13 damage on base. He is just going to claim the initiative, and now we are going to see Phoenix Squadron A-Wing, and for the first time, Tommy playing the Chewbacca Faithful First Mate as a pilot upgrade onto the Phoenix Squadron A-Wing. That Phoenix Squadron A-Wing now cannot be defeated by enemy card abilities, which is so good against this hard control style. But David has the perfect response with Entrenched. Now that Phoenix Squadron A-Wing cannot attack David's base. Very solid response. Iden does get in for another 3, or excuse me, Sabine getting in for another 3. And we see Sabine getting that top target upgrade back-to-back games. Tommy playing another big threat in the ground arena, the Poe Dameron, quick to improvise. David has the initiative. And I did want to give a big shout out to David for using the deck zone on the playmat. He generally likes to draw cards with his left hand, so he puts his deck on the left side of the playmat. But he knows using the zones look a lot better for the camera. He said, Josh, only for you, and only because we're friends. But we certainly appreciate it. Again, if you missed the semifinal feature match here on the channel of this Planetary Qualifier, David and I, good friends, both locals here in the upstate of South Carolina. Now, David did have a great response to that Poe Dameron. He needed it. Vanquish defeating Poe. Tommy does get in for 3 with Sabine. Took David's damage total up to 19, and then David healed 1 damage with the Iden action ability. Tommy playing red 5, and then David claiming the initiative. Here comes For a Cause I Believe In. And for the 3rd time in this match, Tommy hitting all 4 heroism cards. He is 3 for 3, dealing 4 damage with For a Cause I Believe In. And just like that, David is up to 22 damage on his base. Again, 1 damage for each heroism card revealed. Tommy revealed 4. And now he just has to decide where those 4 cards will go. He can discard any of them and put any of them back on top of his deck in any order. Now, Tommy also wanted to give a huge shout out to Triangle Area Trading Cards in Raleigh, North Carolina. That is the local store for his team, the Raleigh Raiders. And he wanted to say thank you so much to Adam and Tara for all the support that they give the Raleigh Raiders. Again, we saw Dom Rivero face off against David in the semifinal match. He was also from Raleigh and a part of the Raleigh Raiders. The whole team traveled in to compete in this tournament. And they wanted to say thank you so much to Triangle Area Trading Cards. And if you're ever in the area, be sure to stop by and check them out and tell them the Raleigh Raiders sent you. So now Tommy just deciding where these cards go. We saw the Chewbacca Pilot, Wing Leader, Heroic Sacrifice, and Sabine's Masterpiece are the 4 cards revealed. Now we see Wing Leader being discarded, and Tommy is going to put the Chewbacca Pilot, Sabine's Masterpiece, and Heroic Sacrifice on top. Now he just has to decide what order they go in. So Tommy will know what 2 cards are coming, what 2 cards he will draw during the regroup phase. David will certainly have to be mindful of that Chewbacca. Chewbacca is so dangerous here against these control decks. If David doesn't have another copy of No Glory Only Results or Entrenched, that red 5 could be a real problem piloted by Chewbacca. But it's not Chewbacca that Tommy draws here, so must have been the third card down. We do see the Heroic Sacrifice and Sabine's Masterpiece being drawn by Tommy here. But as we get started on this next turn, David will have the initiative. 22 damage on David's base. This is a critical turn. David can go up to 8 resources, which means that the board wipe Super Laser Blast is online. It would be a great option if he had it in his hand. It could answer that Sabine, allowing him to claim the bounty, heal 6 damage from his base. It would also take care of red 5, which is a really nice target for that Chewbacca pilot. David has really been trapped the last couple of turns. He was unable to deploy Iden on the 6 resource turn because Tommy played Poe Dameron, and David could not let Tommy have the initiative with Poe on board because Poe can deal 8 damage with 1 swing, 6 power plus 2 with the on attack ability. And then this past turn, I believe David really respecting the possibility of Chewbacca pilot on red 5, claiming the initiative again without deploying. Now we know that Tommy doesn't have the Chewbacca pilot in hand, but I really do feel like David has to play around it because it would be a quick route to victory for Tommy if David didn't have an answer. Let's see what David's first action will be. David has no units on the board, so something like an overwhelming barrage is not possible here. We are going to see another copy of Vanquish. David absolutely respecting the possibility of a Chewbacca pilot. Vanquish defeating red 5. Tommy immediately getting in for 3 with Sabine. David healing 1 with the Iden action ability, and now Tommy smuggling Cassian Andor into play. Cassian is ready. David only has 3 ready resources. Does he have an answer to Cassian? Because we know Tommy also has a Yoda's lightsaber in hand. So if David does not have a response to Cassian, this could be huge. He does not. He claims the initiative. There's the Yoda's lightsaber, and Cassian will swing for 6. David has 30 damage on his base. Oh my goodness, we are so close here in Game 3. Tommy is 3 damage away from becoming a Planetary Qualifier champion. Can David stabilize? David has the initiative. He can heal 6 damage from his base if he defeats Sabine, but Tommy is showing 6 more damage with Cassian. First action for David, it is takedown. He is going to defeat Sabine, claiming the bounty, healing 6 damage, but then Tommy puts 6 damage right back on the base. David heals 1, but here's For a Cause I Believe In. 4 more damage, and that does it. Tommy Evanko is a Planetary Qualifier champion. Thank you so much to everyone for tuning in to this Planetary Qualifier coverage. It has been a blast, and we will see you all again soon. May the Force be with you, and until next time, take care.